And this was no different. It's just that you're looking at an abandoned site.
Yeah,
It's kind of hard to picture because you can't. You didn't know what it looked like before. You know?
yeah.
You could, I was saying if you could see the before and after. Everything right here on the cement was a cane yard. This is where they put the actual cane. They stacked it.
I'm curious as to
Smokestack.
smokestack.
All the sugar mills had smokestacks, like one smokestack at one time. This mill was probably built in the 1930s, and in those days at St. Mary's Sugar, if you come to our mill, we still have a smokestack just like that, but we don't use it.
Is that more of like that's an older thing, right?
That's an older thing. That's cement. That's you got rebar in there all the way up with cement, and you got rings for support. But back in the day, there was only one smokestack for all the emissions to go in the atmosphere. Was one smokestack. Over the years, they had different what they call wet scrubbers. Wet scrubbers, you got to add water to emit white smoke into the atmosphere. DEQ, Department of Environmental Quality, has permits that they permit all these sugar mills to operate by, so you can't emit particulate matter and NOx and whatnot into the atmosphere. You got to control all of that. So what the wet scrubbers do, they replaced all those smokestacks. So that probably hadn't operated since the 1960s. That smokestack there, but it's probably about $400,000 to take it down.
Really?
That's probably why it's still standing.
It's strong. I'm
Yeah.
surprised it was still.
Now, with nothing around, you could probably knock it down very easily, but very expensive to take down.
Another one of the main things we were real curious about is I didn't notice it until after we had looked at the drone footage. When we went up in the air, to the right of the smokestack right here, these cavities filled with water.
I'm gonna go look, but I'm pretty sure that was the mill floor. That was the milling tandem. All that is the foundation for the milling tandem. The milling tandem is where the crushing of the cane takes place. You got 3 or 4 mill rollers on each mill, and normally you have 5 or 6 mills. It does the crushing, but these are the housings. The housings fit on these foundations. See all the rebar? They started breaking this down. Yeah, that's the mill house. That's the foundations for the mills.
Yeah, these cavities right here.
Yep. You have a cement slab for your house. This is the cement slab that for the foundation for the milling tandem. And the milling tandem bolts, big old things of steel, bolt on top of these. See those bolts coming out? They come out the thing. You have to have a strong foundation because you got a lot of torque involved with those mills. This was the milling tandem foundations. And you had miscellaneous buildings. I mean, you had sugar warehouses in the back that stored the sugar, but they tore all of that down.
Yeah, there are a lot of slabs in the back, like 4 or 5 big slabs.
Slabs, but not that wide, but very long.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the sugar warehouse. See, the sugar warehouse is always at the back end of the sugar mill. What happens is when you make the sugar, you always ship it to the back, especially when you're on the water, so you're close to the water, so everything comes out on a belt conveyor. So all the sugar came out on a belt conveyor loading the barge. In the molasses tanks, you probably had some round foundations or rings or whatever that you probably saw on your deal. That was probably the molasses tanks.
Okay.
You probably saw on your map you had retention ponds. You had in the back there's some levees back here that you have water way in the back on the back of the property. That's your sediment ponds. So everything that leaves a sugar mill, DEQ requires you to contain. You cannot, when you have Bayou Teche, it's a public waterway. Nothing can be discharged from this site into that Bayou Teche permit-wise. So you got to retain everything. So everything has to be funneled to a pipe and sent to those places. So every drop of water or every drop of oil or chemical or whatever that you use in the process has to be contained in a pond. That's what those retaining ponds used to be for, way in the back.
When did this mill shut down exactly? What year?
I believe it did. 2004 was the last crop, so 2005 they did not operate.
And what, did the corporation relocated?
No, the sugar cane relocated to other mills. Matter of fact, St. Mary got some of the sugar cane from here. Cajun Sugar did, M.A. Patsu. So we have 3 or 4 other mills. We have 5 mills in this 20-mile radius from New Iberia. And so the cane just kind of, majority of it went to Cajun Sugar down the road, which is only about 3 miles.
And they just demolished all the big structures here?
It took time. It took time. But by the time they sell the equipment to different, we got some equipment from here. A lot of these equipment can be used elsewhere, but the majority of it was probably sold and went overseas.
Yeah, we found a couple old pictures of this place whenever it was, it was a nice above shot. There's not a ton of them though.
Well, when they were operating?
Yeah.
If you show me the pictures, I could show you a little bit more what they were doing with all of that.
I see the barge over there.
Yeah, that's the barge. That's the slip I'm talking about. The Bayou runs this way, and they had a slip. They went there and they load the barges. They load the barge with sugar from there. So they put 3 million pounds of sugar in the barge.
Where's it go when it goes on the barge though?
Domino Sugar in Mississippi River.
Why did they close, actually? That's a good question.
I think it was this sugar mill.
Yes.
I think it was cane supply. The cane supply had dwindled down over the years, and everything in the sugar industry these days is about volume. You need to have a lot of cane to break even or to make money, and their cane supply had dwindled to where it affected their finances.
So these big plots of land I see, especially in Youngsville, that are being sold and turned to neighborhoods, that would be an example of supply being cut off to.
Our industry is losing sugarcane land to real estate.
Yeah.
People wanting to expand subdivisions and whatnot, especially in Youngsville.
Yeah.
But I have a farmer that lives in Youngsville. He brings us his cane. He was farming 3,500 acres of cane land in Youngsville, and now he's down to 900. You look at a sugar mill that once was,
Yeah.
Well, what a shame. But I can tell you, I have a map in my office. In 1963, we had 48 sugar mills operating.
48?
And we're down to 11 now in Louisiana. But the ironic thing about that is the 11 mills that's operating today are making more sugar than the 400 or the 45 mills that they had back in 1963 combined. Because of automation, computerization, consolidation, everything's taking place to where there's not too many mills that's not grinding 1 million tons of cane per year. There's only 11 left in Louisiana, and the oldest in the United States.